It's the Rob Carson Show. Are you ready to be podsmacked? Now, here's Rob Carson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. Good to be back on the air. Glad to have you here. Make sure, if you can, sign up for Liberty One TV. Okay? Just go to liberty1tv.com and get signed up. You are supporting a very worthy cause. And, winning the battle, or at least attempting to fight back against the social media giants who are censoring us, to be quite honest. Okay? All right. So I've got a lot of stuff I want to get to, including the politicization of a hurricane, which always happens. The left always politicizes hurricanes to forward their environmentalist nut job agenda. Okay? Increasing taxes on you, decreasing America's standing economically in the world. That's what it's all about. Oh, U.S. consumer prices rose less than expected in August, once again defying forecasts for a tight labor market, tariffs, and trade disputes that would push inflation higher. Has it happened? Consumer price index rose to seasonally adjusted 0.2%. Compared to that with a year ago, prices were up 2.7%. I had a woman come the other day to buy a car at Hendrick Toyota where I work. She said, I want to buy a car because the Trump's tariffs are going to cause them to go up in price. I said, well, what evidence do you have of that? And she couldn't give me any evidence. So, CNN's political analyst John Avlon made a stunning claim last week during a segment called Reality Check. He basically said that Donald Trump's policies will lead to 80,000 unnecessary deaths. This coming from the statistics that you pull out of your behind category, I guess. That's what we have. This is what CNN does. This is what Politico does. This is what the mainstream media does. Before the bodies cool, literally, I mean, before the storm is over, they've already begun spending it and blaming it on a president. A president who's been in office for about 18 months. Already blaming a president. Here's a little bit of CNN's coverage and commentary with regard to the hurricane.
Back with you. Now it is time for a CNN reality check as Florence bears down on the Carolinas. A damning Washington Post editorial is calling President Trump, quote, complicit in this storm, not for failing to prepare, but for failing to address climate change. So senior political analyst John Avlon has more for us.
He has addressed climate change, and he calls it a bunch of crap, which it is.
Hey, John.
That's right,
and climates do change, by the way. In fact, we're getting ready to go through a pretty major climate change here in Kansas City. It's called fall.
Look, President Trump has been reaching for storm superlatives, as he is wont to do. The biggest, the worst, the most dangerous, and who can forget, tremendously wet. But while President Trump has been talking up our preparedness, his policies have been tearing down our defenses to climate change.
Really?
Which is often blamed for extreme weather. In fact, on the very same day Trump was discussing Florence from the Oval Office, his EPA proposed rolling back restrictions on emissions of methane, which is 25 times worse than carbon dioxide when it comes to climate change. And that's just the latest environmental policy targeted by the Trump administration. According to a July study from the New York...
Hold on. The guy just released some methane.
Times, nearly 80 regulations could be on their way out. They include everything from no longer requiring chemical companies to report leaks, to cutting cars and trucks' fuel efficiency, pulling the U.S. out of the Paris Climate Accords, dismantling the Clean Power Plan, and opening nearly all our coastline to offshore drilling.
Sure.
It's so bad that according to two Harvard scientists, Trump's environmental policies could lead to an additional 80,000 unnecessary deaths every decade.
80,000 additional. This is made up of whole cloth. This is absolute falderall. This is BS. How could you possibly say the number of deaths in a decade resulting from Trump's environmental policies? Are you out of your nut?
I'm not convinced about the connection between climate change and extreme weather?
Yeah.
Well, warmer water means more intense storms. And when President Trump...
Okay, now, just real quick. We just got off of a 13-year drought of hurricanes strike the United States. We had a 13-year drought. And now comes this storm, which, by the way, kind of petered out. Yes, there are massive rains, yes, but it is not the destructive storm that they thought it was going to be. Not taking anything away from those who were being affected by flooding. It was not the monster killer storm that everybody was predicting and blaming on Donald Trump.
Called Hurricane Florence tremendously wet. It was actually onto something. The amount of precipitation in our worst storms increased nearly 20% between 1958 and 2007, according to one scientific study. And the relative number...
One scientific study.
These extreme storms is also up about 40%.
Except for that 13-year drought that I was just talking about.
In that same period. But you don't...
Okay. Bullcrap. Absolute bullcrap. Oh, here, wait. I want to find the guy who actually says that it's not as bad as he thought it was going to be. Which, of course, probably will get the guy fired. Let's see here. Do I have it? Maybe I do not. Did you see? Okay, here is Eric Holthouse discussing on MSNBC and politicizing the storm.
Thanks, Hurricane. Eric, just explain what a storm surge is and why it can be so destructive.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Chris. What we're seeing here, Florence is a huge hurricane. This is one of the largest hurricanes that we've ever seen in the Atlantic. And
really?
You can't really talk about this without talking about climate change.
Of course, no, you can't. You can.
Some evidence that was published this week that the storm is actually a little bit bigger, and the rain is going to be more intense because of warmer water. And we've also had about a foot of sea level rise over the last 100 years or so.
No, we haven't.
In North Carolina. So all of these
in North Carolina
are working to make the impacts of this hurricane worse. So we're going to have all that wind pushing the water.
The sea level rose 1 foot in a century in North Carolina. I'm thinking if the sea level raises, then it's going to raise around the world, right? And by the way, it hasn't.
Along the shore, and the rise of the level of the ocean because of all of that wind is going to
it's called a storm surge. It happens all the time.
Create the a tremendous
wow, this is credible
amount of flooding, unlike we've ever seen on the East Coast.
Yeah, there's two aspects here, right? So there's the storm surge, there's also the rain. One of the things that happened with Harvey, which we saw, is that the slower moving the storm is, the worse it can be, because it just...
And it's climate change is causing the storm to slow down, even though they're more powerful.
Stops and drops a lot of rain, is that right?
Yeah, exactly, and we're seeing that a little bit too in the last few decades. That hurricanes are moving a little bit more slowly as they're making
You're making this up.
As weather patterns change in response to climate change. So
the weather patterns
there's a
change.
lot going on here, really.
We live on a blue marble, 90 million miles away from a gigantic flaming ball. Okay, sometimes the flaming ball is more flamey.
And it's gotten to the point where...
Do you ever think maybe the sun might have something to do with kids? It's right there, okay?
We have a president that is denying the impacts of this hurricane season last year and this year,
really,
and actively making the problem worse by not addressing this root cause of worsening storms.
Wow, well said. No, not really. Oh, did you see this? This is really funny. Mike Seidel, Weather Channel correspondent in Wilmington, North Carolina. And, I was talking to my wife about this. The networks, they will do everything they can to hype the storm. Okay. This is about ratings. There's a reason why they send hapless reporters into the eye of the storm to be blown around. Because it's ratings, it's numbers, it's huge. This is like the talk radio stations whenever there's a tornado in the Midwest. Their ratings go through the ceiling. It's the same way with hurricanes. But there's this weatherman standing in these hurricane conditions, and I guess he was kind of playing it up just a little bit because you see he's bracing himself against the wind, and then you see two people casually walk behind him. Here it is.
Okay, picking it up here in Wilmington, North Carolina, right at the Intercoastal, and we're in one of these vans. This is about as nasty as it's been. We had some bands like this last night, and then the eye wall this morning. We were
that's
not on TV.
fantastic.
It was the dark and raucous night at the hotel, and this wind gusting again over 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's blowing by pieces of limbs.
Yeah, okay, buddy. This is fantastic. I think this thing's gotten over 20 million views. Just unbelievable. Oh, and the network is defending him this morning, saying that he was trying to maintain his footing on some slippery grass. Did that look like slippery grass to you? I don't think so. Oh, man, that's just fantastic. Just fantastic. Oh, yeah, the CNN's Nick Watt is in North Myrtle Beach and said that the storm was nothing near as bad as feared. That's what he said. Said, so far so good. The water is retreating. Okay. And basically said the storm is not as bad as it was going to be and was predicted. Kind of blew the narrative out of the water that this is one of the worst storms ever in the history of mankind, caused by Donald Trump. All right. Just unbelievable. I mean, there are no words. There are no words. Okay. Coming up, we're going to get into Joe Biden talking to an LGBTQ RSTU event, saying that Donald Trump has caused suicide hotline calls to increase dramatically. Chelsea Clinton saying it's unchristian to not back Roe v. Wade. Okay? Intellectually and morally bankrupt. Okay. Now, you see right up here? These are some of the new designs in my politically incorrect line of clothing. All right? You can have these designs put on onesies. You can have them put on T-shirts. Make America bait again with a fish there. You know, see that? Hillary in 20 never. Socialism sucks. Good guy with a gun. Uranium One, making Russia great again. Veganism is an eating disorder. All of these, I don't care that you're offended. There it is. Make America bait again with a fish. I love that. So anyway, you can just go to TeePublic and look for conservatives and order, okay? Right now, I think T-shirts are 30% off, which is really nice. So make a statement with humor. Make America bait again. See what I did there? Yeah. My buddy Sam Cangelosi used to work for Hallmark. He did the design. So tpublic.com. Look for conservatives, if you would. Brad Pitt rode to the rescue of New Orleans' 9th Ward after Katrina. Now the dozens of eco-friendly homes he built are falling apart. By 2016, Pitt's Make It Right Foundation reported it had spent $26.8 million building 109 homes, but the number of buyers are now complaining that, and even suing Make It Right over massive design and building flaws. Residents complain of mold and collapsing structures, electrical fires, gas leaks, say the houses were built too quickly with low-quality materials, and the designs didn't take into account New Orleans' humid, rainy climate. Okay. In 2016, Pitt made a show of calling for inspections of the homes. That never happened. Through a spokesman, Pitt said to NBC News, Make It Right has been coordinating repairs of homes experiencing problems since early 2018, and I have total faith in our team on the ground to see this through. This is like the FEMA trailers. Remember those? The FEMA trailers? Made everybody sick? Yeah. Camaria Allen purchased one of Pitt's homes for $130,000 in 2011. It now sits abandoned, mushrooms growing from its split siding, wooden boards propping up its sagging roof. After Allen was forced to abandon her home, she moved in with her parents, who also bought one of Brad Pitt's homes. Joe Biden talking to a group of LGBTQ people. And, of course, bringing politics to the fore. I'm not exactly sure why. It seems more gay people vote Democrat, I guess. And I might say that most gay conservatives have to remain in the closet, for lack of a better term. They do. You're ostracized. It's like being an African American admitting that you're conservative. What? You support Trump? You are a pariah. A pariah. Here is a little bit of Mr. Biden's address to the LGBT group, basically saying that Donald Trump caused a massive increase in LGBT hotline suicide calls.
And the suicide hotline they run, just think of having to say those two phrases together. A project and a suicide hotline.
Do they ask you if you're gay on the suicide hotline? I'm just saying. Is that one of the things they immediately say? It's like, hello, welcome to the suicide hotline. Can I help you? Are you gay? Really?
I recently learned that the 2 days they had the highest call volume were the day after Trump was elected in 2016.
Okay, if you're that fragile, and I'm not meaning to make fun of suicide, but honestly, you need help. If you want to kill yourself because of someone's election or Hillary Clinton's loss, dear God, get a grip and get some help.
And the day President Trump tweeted his new policy banning transgender patriots from serving in the military. There were 2 days.
Sure.
And despite all the progress we've made, there are still so many young people in America who feel so abandoned, so alone, so afraid.
There are so many people in this country who are afraid to speak truth about gender identity, that their careers are ruined. I mean, you've got Facebook recognizing 59 genders. That's madness. That's just madness. Honestly, let's look at these things through the prism of common sense. Yes, there are things that happen in the womb that are directed by hormonal changes, and yes, there are people who are born, I believe, and they feel like, and I don't necessarily think this is a mental thing, although I think there are probably times there are, but there are things that happen chemically in the body that might predispose someone to feeling they're the wrong gender. So I'm not saying everybody is crazy. No, I'm not. But at the same time, you can't speak the truth about some of these instances. You can't speak the truth about saying, it's wrong to let your child determine their gender without losing your job. That's basically it. Here's a little bit more of the former VP, Mr. Biden. And they're all on the warpath now, trying to take down Donald Trump in November. Here he is talking about the alt-right, Trump's alt-right KKK supporters. Here we go.
You know how grateful we are as a nation for all that you have done these 20 years. To speak out and demand a better, safer world for our children. And the truth is, to speak...
I don't want a safer world for my children, obviously, because I'm conservative.
Which things have changed is no thanks to any national figure. It's because of people, like I just introduced, people who had courage to come out and speak. That's why I'm so happy to be here to say thank you. Thank you to generations of brave advocates from Stonewall to ACT UP to PFLAG moms to student leaders. We've come this far because you spoke up, because you demanded justice, because you've been denied too long.
Okay.
And you did it despite the voices of intolerance that tried to tear you down. And many of you, especially those of you closer to my age, paid an enormous personal price, a professional price, and literally put your lives in jeopardy to speak out. That's why we are here today. You risked your livelihoods, your very personal well-being,
sure,
but your tenacity.
Yeah, and listen, we've come a long way with regard to gay rights in this country, certainly, in my lifetime.
Literally bent the arc, the moral arc of this nation, much more toward justice. And thanks to you, our children, my grandchildren, will grow up in a world that's far more just, open-minded and humane. But our work is not
unless you're conservative.
Done by any stretch of the imagination. The stakes are much too high. And as I said, we've faced with an administration and some of its most ardent right-wing supporters from the Ku Klux Klan. The head of the Ku Klux Klan is...
Well, by the way, the Ku Klux Klan was founded by Democrats.
Endorsed. And the alt-right, who are trying to undo all the progress you have made and the little that Barack and I have made with you.
Where is this happening? In mass? I mean, really? But again, like blaming a hurricane. You got to blame all this on Donald Trump. One more time. Here's John Kerry with Bill Maher going after the president in a very immature way.
he has. I don't want to get into a real riff on this, but I got to tell you.
Okay, but you're going to go ahead and do it. Okay. All right.
He's. Well, I mean.
Okay. And by the way, I don't think the president acts very mature a lot of the time. A lot of the tweets, I'm like, really, man? How old are you? Okay, I get that. But for a former Secretary of State to say this, I think is outrageous.
He really is the rare combination of a 8-year-old boy. I mean, he's got the maturity of an 8-year-old boy with the insecurity of a teenage girl.
It's an insult to teenage girls, by the way. It's an insult to young women.
Very mean girl.
Pretty racist, pretty sexist thing to say, I should say. Kind of sexist thing to say, right? But you know, this is it. He got his laughs. Oh, Chelsea Clinton was interviewed by Sirius XM. She believes that it's unchristian to go back to pre-Roe v. Wade. Now, pre-Roe v. Wade, I think 30 million babies have been killed. This is a Holocaust on a massive scale. And, you know how I feel about abortion, guys. I was a fetus. That's why I don't support abortion. I'm a pro-life person. My mother gave me up for adoption. She could probably have aborted me, but she didn't. But here's Chelsea Clinton trying to take some sort of moral high ground as some sort of a spokesperson for Christianity, which, dear God, really?
It is hard to not let your exhaustion exhaust you, though. I mean, whenever we talk about Roe...
Your exhaustion does exhaust you. I mean, it does, really, seriously. Your exhaustion does exhaust you, I'll tell you that.
We're talking... That fight has been happening through the entirety of our lives. My mother had that fight.
Now, obviously, she didn't have it with the birth of you, right? Your mother had that fight? Did you have a sister or brother that got aborted? What's going on?
Grandmother had that. I mean,
your grandmother had your mother.
How can you keep from like the generational exhaustion pulling you down?
Oh God, this is insufferable. What channel is this?
How do you keep going?
People pay for Sirius XM. They pay for this
in the hopes that your daughter doesn't have to have this fight.
That's the answer, isn't it? Right? Like I look at my children, and I, to quote Jim,
and I could have killed you when you were inside of me.
Optimism is a moral choice, right? Every day I make the moral choice to be optimistic. That my efforts and my energies, particularly when I am fortunate enough to be in partnership, kind of with fellow travelers.
You should be very optimistic every day. Every day you live in abject wealth, none of which you earned.
Hopefully will make a difference.
Yeah.
And when I think about all of the statistics that are painful.
By the way, the coat hanger thing, that's a myth. Did you know that? That's a myth.
Of what women are
Google it.
Confronting.
Google it.
Today in our country, and what even more women confronted pre-Roe, and how many women died, and how many more women were...
How many babies were allowed to live?
Aimed because of unsafe abortion practices. We just can't go back to that. Like, that's unconscionable to me. And
who's the abortionist in Philadelphia? He caused the death of many women and hundreds of babies. He's in jail right now. I'm trying to remember his name. You're thinking right now. You know what it is. What is it?
Also, and I'm sure that this will unleash another wave of hate in my direction, but as a deeply religious person, it's
sure you are. Sure you are.
To me.
Right. Well, you handle the hate pretty well.
No, it's true.
There's been a lot of it around this.
Yeah, you get a lot of heat.
How
do you get any heat?
One issue. I mean, I talk to even reporters
I've been
who
called
cover
a Nazi.
Just healthcare all the time, right? They get the worst hate. It's the anti-choice folks are really some of the
Kermit Gosling
and gun boyfriend lovers.
Yeah,
Right.
Too.
I've been compared to slave owners and Nazis in the last couple of months.
Oh,
Yeah.
delightful.
Well, the president certainly doesn't endure that. His cabinet members certainly don't. His staffers don't endure that. Oh, yeah, no, they do.
Just because you want women to have access to health care.
Yeah, it's access to health care. There you go. It's just access to health care.
Because I've had the temerity,
You know that half of Republicans are women?
as the Supreme Court did in 1992 in Planned Parenthood v. Casey, to point out that our ability to participate fully in our society, including economically, hinges on our ability to be able to make choices
This is just unbelievable.
for our bodies and our families.
Yeah. You know, what about that little body inside of you? You know, never mind that, right? Never mind that, honestly. And that she would bring up her children is just, wow. And then to think that going back pre-Roe, when babies were allowed to live to birth, is somehow unchristian is, wow, just mind-blowing. Just morally and intellectually bankrupt. Wow, wow, wow. One of the Views co-hosts confronted the new head of Planned Parenthood the other day about their main industry, their main money maker, which is killing babies.
Dr. Wen, I know that Planned Parenthood provides services for women of color, for low-income women.
Yes, they do. In fact, Margaret Sanger set up Planned Parenthood because she was a dedicated eugenist and a racist. She was. Have you ever gone to a Planned Parenthood? They're always in minority communities or right on the border with minority communities. Millions of black babies have been aborted at a much higher rate than the rest of the general population. Margaret Sanger is cackling in her grave.
And I think that's very noble. But I also know that Planned Parenthood provides more abortions, the most abortions than any other healthcare provider in the United States.
Pretty much.
And in fact, in I think 2016,
Oh, it's money, 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 guys. It is money, money, money.
Planned Parenthood provided 328,348 abortions. And in terms of emergency contraception kits, 730,329. That's more than women exams, Pap tests,
Thank you.
HPV vaccinations.
They don't do breast
Planned
exams
Parenthood
either.
doesn't perform
They don't.
mammograms. But Planned Parenthood, I don't think is transparent about that. Planned Parenthood says it's only 3% of their services.
They call it choice.
Washington Post has found that to not be accurate, has found it to be more like 12%, has given Planned Parenthood 3 Pinocchios for that. Why is
I can't believe a View host is actually doing this.
Planned Parenthood
Maybe it's because she's a minority and she realizes that there's a genocide happening.
more transparent about its true position?
Well, I disagree with this. Planned Parenthood, just like every major medical organization
It's a medical organization.
ever worked for,
man.
follows the law and is transparent and
No, not
makes
really.
clear what are the procedures that we perform and what are the services that we perform. Planned Parenthood is the largest provider of reproductive health care in this country.
Reproductive health care.
That includes abortions, but over 90% of the services performed are preventive care services. I mean,
Yeah, preventing having a baby.
Separating it. It provides more abortions.
But no tax
than
dollars. Legal.
any other.
I'm sorry,
and it is
they're
legal.
legal.
It is
Okay,
legal.
I just
so why
wanna
not be
point that out.
transparent about that? It seems to me that Planned Parenthood is trying to have it both ways.
Well, I don't get what you're saying, Sonny.
me either.
How are they having it both ways?
Well, because there has been this issue about
And of course, the harpies from hell have to sound off.
federal funding, right?
Which I want to clarify,
Please
right?
do.
There are no federal taxpayer dollars that go towards abortions.
That is a lie. That is an abject lie. If it goes to Planned Parenthood, it goes toward abortions. That's just it. Don't try to tell me that federal money is not being used to kill babies. Give me a friggin' break. Plus, also, the clients pay a lot of money.
Also, by the way, Planned Parenthood doesn't get a check from the federal government. It's not as
They got
if
$500 million last year.
they get a check written every year about funding. Planned Parenthood, just like every hospital, gets reimbursed for medical
It's a hospital.
services like breast cancer screenings, like cervical cancer screenings, like birth control.
But you can understand.
Okay. Breast cancer screenings. Don't go to Planned Parenthood. Unbelievable. It's a new Netflix show about abortion. Well, we're doing kind of abortion-y things here. Gloria Steinem, radical feminist, calls abortion the basis for our democracy. Here's a little bit of that trailer. Then we'll move on to other stuff.
Everything involved in an abortion is sin, and it's wrong.
No woman should be judged because these decisions are never easy.
The child is ripped limb from limb while his heart is still beating.
I'm a mother. I loved my pregnancies because it's beautiful. But it is not that way for everyone. There's no reason to make it more and more difficult and drive women back into the shadows of illegal abortions.
Since 2010, 300 abortion restrictions have been passed in this country.
Right.
Many people are unaware of how restricted abortion has...
How has abortion become like liberating for women? How did it become such a... I mean, there are a lot of people drinking Kool-Aid on this one, guys. Why did it become some sort of a bellwether for female freedom?
To become.
The legislative priority needs to be something that will stop abortions.
1 in 4 women will have an abortion in their life. And when I think
25% of women will have an abortion in their life. Really?
think about how politicized this has become, I wonder, how did this happen?
It's the basis
Because some people want babies to live.
of democracy that you control your own body.
I'm tired of the Republican Party bullying women when it comes to their right to choose.
The Republican Party's the party of life.
Women are using coat hangers.
They kill people.
Okay, that's a myth. It's a myth. Google it. Google is run by lefties. But you Googled the myth of the coat hanger abortion, and you're going to find that it was made up. Absolutely made up. There's my wife in the background. Okay, yeah, let's move on from the abortion thing. Yeah, I've got some funny stories I'm going to get to very shortly, including a town in Missouri that's got a newspaper now, and town people are not very happy with the name they gave it. The paper. I'll just tell you the name of the town is Uranus. Okay? All right. Think about that. Okay, so the FBI will not investigate the Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh following Democrats' mysterious last-minute #MeToo accusation dates back to high school. Dianne Feinstein said she got a letter just a week before the U.S. Senate is scheduled to begin a series of votes on his confirmation, and he's going to get it. Apparently there was a party. Judge Kavanaugh with a friend locked a girl in a room, supposedly forced himself upon her. He, of course, is denying the claim. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said he had promised to oppose Judge Kavanaugh's nomination with everything I have, and it appears he is delivering with this 11th hour attempt to delay his confirmation. So you got this. Kimberly Strassel of the Wall Street Journal says that the whole scenario does not add up. She started out by pointing out reports from the New York Times that suggested Feinstein had at least been aware of the letter's existence since the summer, and argued that if the accusation was truly damning enough to warrant an FBI investigation, it would have been reason enough for Feinstein to present it to authorities immediately, not wait until a week before the vote. Unbelievable. Even Judge Ginsburg does not like the politicization of the nomination process.
So, looking ahead a little bit, last week we saw the Senate hold.
What does she kind of look like? What did it look like? Oh yeah, Yoda.
Confirmation hearings for a nominee to your court. Many observers have said that the process today looks nothing like your confirmation hearing 25 years ago.
Yeah.
President Clinton,
when you were 90,
nominated you in June of 1993, and you were confirmed by the Senate 2 months later by a vote of 96-3. I might add that the National Asian Pacific American Bar Association was pleased to support your nomination.
Is this a question?
How would you compare the process that you went through with what's going on today in that process?
What?
The way it was right. The way it is wrong.
Wow, that's profound. Wow.
The atmosphere in 93 was truly bipartisan. The vote on my confirmation was 96-3.
Unlike what Clarence Thomas had to go through.
Even though I had spent about 10 years of my life litigating cases under the auspices of the ACLU board.
I can't do this anymore. Boy. But she says it's gotten political. And kudos. Kudos for that. That's good. Remember Elizabeth Smart? She had been kidnapped and held captive by Wanda Barzee and her husband, Ed Smart. No, not Ed Smart. I can't remember the guy's name. Anyway, she'd been raped repeatedly for a year. Now Wanda Barzee, the wife, is expected to be freed next week after 15 years in custody, including time at the state hospital 6 years before her 2024 release date. Elizabeth Smart recalled what she had to go through and why this awful witch of Satan needs to stay in jail the rest of her bloody life. She's 30 years old now, by the way.
Yes,
An
it was
amazing person.
A very big shock. That being said, I would urge the powers that be and anyone who works under them to really strongly reconsider this situation, to look at all the facts.
This was a very strong woman. This was an amazing, amazing person who went through captivity, went through hell, was raped almost daily. 15 years old. And she has emerged strong. She has become a wife and a mother.
Look at her mental status and see if they really and honestly, truly feel like she is no longer a threat and that she's ready to be released.
Unbelievable. The woman needs to stay in jail the rest of her life.
I do believe she is a threat. She is a woman who had 6 children and yet could co-conspire to kidnap a 14-year-old girl and not only sit next to her while being raped, but encourage her husband to continue to rape me. So do I believe that she is dangerous? Yes. But not just to me. I believe that she is a danger and a threat to any vulnerable person in our community, which is why our community should be worried.
She's terrific. She's articulate. She's amazing. She's a pillar of strength, honestly. What she went through and how she coped with it. I can't even imagine the nightmares she's had, but she's a person of faith. She's an amazing, amazing person. Okay, some lighter stuff. A third gender category for people who can't identify, don't identify as male or female will be added to New York birth certificates. New York Council and Board of Health passed legislation that will implement a new non-binary identity category known as X. Wow. Beginning January 1st, 2019, Mayor Bill de Blasio came out in support of the bill when it was introduced earlier this summer, saying it would allow transgender and gender nonconforming New Yorkers to live with dignity and the respect that they deserve by putting a big old X on their birth certificate. The measure passed 41-6 on Wednesday. Under the new transgender law, New Yorkers will be able to submit their own affidavits requesting to have the gender identity on their birth certificate changed. Previously, those individuals were forced to go through the trouble of obtaining a physician letter or an affidavit from a licensed healthcare provider if they wanted to change identity instead. Councilman Robert Holden, a Queens Democrat, Queens, among a handful of those who voted against the bill, says just have anyone without going to a doctor say they're another gender or X could lead to abuse and all sorts of problems. We need more oversight. He added, how does X describe a person? Don't we have to have some standards and order? Whatever. But if you speak out against it, you risk losing your job. Mike Peros is a professor at Evergreen State University. Remember Evergreen State College, where Professor Brett Weinstein said he wasn't going to leave campus as a white person The students are radical there, and every year the black students would leave campus for a day, and black faculty and black everybody, to show the impact of not having black people on campus. Well, they decided they wanted white people to just go away. So ordered all white people to leave the campus. Brett Weinstein, a very liberal person, said no. And took a lot of heat. Death threats, the whole deal. Today, Mike Paros has written an update on Evergreen. And the fact that their tuition, or I should say their enrollment, has dropped dramatically. And it should. Because this is an insane asylum run by the inmates. He said this fall we expect less than 300 freshmen to attend Evergreen, a 50% drop from 2 years ago. It is the only four-year institution in the state of Washington and has seen a decrease in application is currently publicly funded for 4,200 students, far greater than this year's anticipated total attending class of 2,800. Advocacy and activism, rather than the pursuit of truth and knowledge, is being promoted as a way of recruiting desperately needed new students. In 2017, Evergreen changed its official mission statement to read, Evergreen supports and benefits from a local and global commitment to social justice. Gobbledygook. Bringing in new faculty or guest speakers with conservative or centrist political perspective is considered risky and out of the question at the moment. Fear and self-censorship is pervasive among Evergreen faculty, especially under the existing budget crisis. An independent external review panel exonerated the president and his administrators while blaming Evergreen's woes on Brett Weinstein and alt-right agitators. That prompted one journalist to ask, who will the Evergreen mob target next? A drop in the total of enrollment by 18% is bad news, and it has, but a drop in the number of enrolled freshmen by 50% is even worse. It shows that the students abandoning Evergreen aren't simply those who were present for the campus takeover last year and who decided not to return. It turns out the greatest impact was on students and parents considering the school for their future. Obviously, that has the potential to become the new normal, and it should. And it hit the University of Missouri, too, with the BLM protests. Shutting up conservative students and faking hate crimes. If this trend continues for 4 more years, the student body will be about half what it was before the student takeover. This year, the University of Washington announced it was welcoming the largest freshman class ever, so this is not a regional trend. This is about Evergreen and what happened there last year. If the school really wanted to turn things around, they start by firing President George Bridges. And what we're seeing now is at least partly the result of refusing to take that step. And you remember when the students literally held the president hostage in a library, said he could not go to the bathroom. Remember that? Remember that? Held him hostage against his will. Bat guano craziness. Okay, I got some fun stuff now that I think you're really going to like. This is Nancy Spadoni, returning from a 10-month deployment with in the Navy, to her wife, yes, lesbian couple, Amy Beasley Spadoni. Well, their dog is named Remy. This is why dogs rule and cats suck, okay? Listen to this dog weep for joy.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I know!
The dog cannot get enough, cannot get close enough to her.
Oh my God.
This is spectacular.
I think she's happy you're home.
Look at that.
Oh my God. Listen to her crying. Oh my God, she's kissing you. She's laid out on you.
That's just beautiful.
I know.
That is just beautiful.
I know. I miss
Where have you been?
So much.
Where have you been?
I miss you so much.
Oh my God, she's crying. Oh my God.
Wow.
Oh,
I'm gonna pee on her face.
I know.
Look at that. Look at that.
Oh my God. Remy, is that your mommy? That's your mommy.
Yeah.
I've been missing you.
Then we got to do the dog talk, which I do, by the way. I do dog talk. I talk like a babbling idiot to my dogs. I love this. Oh, check this out. How do you feel about teaching a baby to swim? I think it's a great idea. Grace Finelli, Florida, wanted to get her kids in the pool from an early age to make sure they were confident in the water. Her daughter, Cassia, is barely a year old, took to the water like a natural performing backstroke. Check out this kid swimming across the pool by herself as a 1-year-old. It's a little scary, but what's even scarier is if she didn't know how to swim. Look at this kid. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Let's go over to the side here. Where is it? Okay, it's over there. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. That's just amazing. And this will save her life. This will save her life. If they have a pool, I think anybody who has a pool at their home and they have infants need to take a cue from this. She's getting over near the stairs. This is a 1-year-old. Look at that. That is fantastic. I love that. Absolutely love it. Okay. What else do I got here? Oh, okay. This is good. New mother in Wisconsin calling for the Green Bay Packers to change their ticket policy. Listen to this, guys. They wouldn't allow her 3-month-old daughter into the game without a ticket. Okay? Now, I'm not big on kids on airliners. Not in a seat. I'm not into that. I think that you need to have a seat for your kid because they shouldn't sit on your lap. To me, that's insane. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't understand. Sorry, I'm trying to get my other computer monitor to work. There it is. Erica Johnson said that she had planned to bring her daughter to the Packers home game against Sunday against the Minnesota Vikings, but didn't need to buy an extra ticket because the child's too young to sit in the seat on her own. Johnson is a lifelong Packers fan. She said she called and wrote to the team regarding its policy for infants, but was told that all persons who enter Lambeau Field require a ticket, whether they use a seat or not. You know what the next thing is for the Green Bay Packers then? The next thing for the Green Bay Packers is, telling moms they can't bring formula or breast milk into the stadium and actually selling a little bottle of milk for $16. I think that would be the next step for the Green Bay Packers. All right. My computer's being weird. I don't know why that is. 2 more stories. How does that sound? And again, go to Conservatees right there. tpublic.com, Conservatees in order. Order socialism sucks. Order I don't care that you're offended. Order Hillary in 20 never. You can get it on bumper stickers. You can get it on mouse pads. Have one at work. Have one at work. It's awesome. Okay. University of Maryland College Park announced Friday a new diversity support group to create a safe space for white students to discuss their feelings about interactions with racial and ethnic minorities. This is going to go over well. University of Maryland, the group is called White Awake. Will help white students who may sometimes feel uncomfortable and confused before, during, and or after interactions with racial and ethnic minorities. Really, kids? It's 2018. Dear Lord. This group offers a safe space for white students to explore their experiences, questions, reactions, and feelings. Members will support and share feedback with each other as they learn more about themselves and how they can fit into the diverse world. One UMD student said, I am ashamed over the execution of White Awake, nor do I fully understand its clause. How can they fit into a diverse world? Why do they need to attend therapy sessions on how to be a decent human being in society? Exactly. Why do they need to have these sessions to learn how to coexist? Just like classes, you can't take one class and feel like you have all understanding over a certain subject, the student added. It takes practice, it takes problems, it takes more than one course. So Wide Awake has good intentions, but I am skeptical over the fairy tale result. Yeah, and it's stupid. Dear God, honestly. Just honestly. All right. Tiny Missouri town launched a newspaper dubbed the Uranus Examiner. Locals say the name really stinks. Uranus is in Eastern Town's official name, but the mayor of a neighboring city has threatened to boycott the weekly powder over its crappy imagery. Waynesville Mayor Luge Hardman. Luge Hardman. Oh, my God. That's fantastic. Said at a chamber commerce meeting where the paper was unveiled, he says, "No, I'm sorry, but the innuendo of that title puts the city up for public ridicule." Luge Hardman. Some residents feared they'd become the butt of an international joke. Well, whoever wrote this is just fantastic. But the paper is a credible free news source that shouldn't get a bum rap. Managing editor Natalie Sanders told the Springfield News Leader it's a serious newspaper. Adding Uranus' new rag will make a splash. No one's going to forget this name. She hopes to fill the void in local news coverage by sending it out to 15,000 people living in Uranus and neighboring areas. She says, "I'm sorry, but we're not changing the name." The Uranus Examiner was unveiled at a Chamber of Commerce luncheon Wednesday after the area's main local paper, Waynesville Daily Guide, was shut down. Oh, Uranus has a population of 25. That's about it. All right, guys, it's time for me to get the heck out of here. I will not be having a departure audio. For some odd reason, my computer isn't working. So what I will say is that I thank you for watching. If you would please share a lot. If you're in the Kansas City area, I'm going to be selling cars for a little while anyway. Just come by Hendrick Toyota Miriam. It's off I-35, 67th Street. Say hi to me. I'll get you a good deal on a car. All right? In the meantime, follow me on Facebook at Rob Carson Show, on Twitter at Rob Carson, and, of course, right here on Liberty One and its affiliate Facebook pages and other sundry outlets. Take care. God bless. See you soon.